Welcome to the Amiga Ireland podcast. It's the 2nd of August and I'm Irla.
I'm Rob.
And I'm Luke.
We've got some news, gaming news, discoveries and community news and events to talk about and some music to cover. So before we get stuck in, how are you doing, lads?
Oh, not too bad, thank you very much. I've recently managed to get an Amiga 1010 disk drive. I've always wanted to have one, to be honest. It's the classic one that looks really nice with Amiga 1000. It has arrived to me from Australia, actually. So it's a bit yellowish, but I think I can retro-bright it a bit so that it looks a bit better. But still, the technical side is just perfect. After, I don't know, it was produced in 1985 or 6, still works perfect. No problems whatsoever. Formats discs, reads discs.
Brilliant.
Lovely. How's yourself, Rob?
I'm alright. The wife and kids are still away for another couple of days, so enjoying, a bit of peace and quiet to myself here. But I was in Ireland there a couple of weeks ago, with them, for the week. So that was nice. A bit busy. I also got to operate on an Amiga 1000 for the first time. So I've never actually popped the cover off a 1000, and that was very interesting. I think that's the same, or that came from the same place as your disk drive. It also got shipped from Australia, and I think the same guy was selling off all his bits.
Yeah. That's the one.
This is the 1000. All working fine as well. Also very yellow, but that has been retro-brighted and actually looks really well. Well,
it is hot in Australia, I must say, and a lot of sun. So there you go. That's the outcome.
Perfectly normal. But yeah. So this machine now has one of these faster 68K accelerators in it, and it's got compact flash in it. It's 8 megs of RAM, so it's doing quite well for itself actually as a 1000 goes. Oh, and it's got Kickstart 3.1 in it, and it's as a 1000 goes, it's an impressive little machine.
Yeah, it is.
I think there must always be an Amiga peripheral in transit around the globe at any given moment.
I'd imagine there is. For whatever reason, it just happened that all this stuff came up in Australia and all of it got shipped to this end of the world. That's just how it works out.
So is that somebody else to come to the Amiga Ireland event in January?
I've been trying, but would you believe it? It's Graham, so I'll give a shout out to him. But it's his wife's birthday that same weekend, so and that's why he didn't come last year either, unfortunately.
That's a tricky one.
Yeah, you're not going to get away with that.
Graham, I understand. If you want help making a good excuse for your wife, just send us an email. We'll sort you out.
There you go.
Masters of excuses.
Yeah.
She might forgive you when you come home with some really cool old Amiga books and manuals and stuff.
Oh, I'm sure that would change your mind all right.
Put it all in perspective,
Yeah.
Well, I just finished college today, I'm pretty sure, as long as my submission gets accepted. So it's
Excellent.
Just a couple hours ago. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been thinking about how my life is going to change now when I've finished college, and I actually can't remember what it was I was going to do, or my head is still stuck in I've been stuck in these certain apps on the computer. So I'm looking forward to clearing the desk and setting the Amiga back up again, and maybe the Commodore 64 as well. So
one thing is for sure, you will have MA in front of your name.
Alright, let's move on to the news.
Okay, so first up, the living legend that is John Hurtle has reverse engineered the Amiga 1200 motherboard. So he's been working on this a little while, now has all the files and schematics that you need to reproduce an Amiga 1200 motherboard. So he's ordered the first batch and has basically assembled his first one. Hasn't quite worked, a couple of little bugs to work out, but very, very close to having a full replacement motherboard. Now, obviously not the custom chips, but the board itself. For anyone who wants to, a nice project or needs a replacement because their board has been eaten by capacitor leak, or just because they wanted it in a different colour. Because the version he got is black with sort of gold trim on it, and it looks fantastic. That's an incredible amount of work.
if you've one of those transparent Amiga 1200 cases, then that would be perfect for it, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, and actually he also he made some minor modifications to it, and he's also added a couple of status LEDs to the board itself, so you can have some nice flashy LEDs inside it for your transparent cases.
Wow.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic to see that when it's finished.
That is very interesting. I wonder if it'll affect the prices.
Well, boards like that are never going to be cheap because in small volumes, because of the sheer size of it. You know, if producing a circuit board like that is basically charged by the square inch, and when it gets up to that size, they just, you know, they cost a fair amount unless you're ordering hundreds of them, and you're not going to order hundreds of those. So, you know, because there just simply aren't the custom chips to go on them. So, you know, it'll be small, limited volume stuff, and it'll be expensive in itself. So I can't imagine it'll have much of an effect on the 1200 market, unfortunately, because they're quite pricey at the moment.
A company called Rustport has recently released KA21 Gale PCMCIA fix. It is a hardware solution for Gale PCMCIA reset bug. The thing is that the Gale chip in Amiga 1200 does not reset PCMCIA card during system reset. For example, some cards are not working after such event until the Amiga is power cycled. This little device called KA21 generates that forced signal, generates that forced high pulse, and the device is installed directly on the Gale chip, and thanks to that solution, you won't have to actually use any software patches like card patch or card reset. So everything's going to be done automatically, and makes life a bit easier. John Herdle said as well that he's going to implement that PCMCIA fix on his motherboard as well.
There have been sort of fixes around for a while and sometimes integrated into other hardware, but it's a nice little board that they have because it also has a couple of extra headers on it, like for a reset button and for, you know, the clock port multipliers. And,
that's right.
And that, so it's got some address lines that are broken out on it. It's a neat little solution for you know, customizing 1200s, and you know, a lot of people as well would almost permanently leave a card in there, like a network card in the slot. So it's good to have the hardware fix. Yeah,
it's not only for, you know, like a network card, but also, you know, like a PCMCIA SD readers or PCMCIA CF cards. So it saves a bit of a hassle, you know, like you do it once and then you just forget it. Done, sorted, works.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Good stuff, indeed.
If anyone's familiar with QEMU or QEMU, it's a multi-machine emulator, as in it can basically emulate all sorts of different machines and architectures. It has a PowerPC core for it. I think maybe a year ago or so, someone started adding support to it for emulating the SAM 460 board. Now, this is very interesting because that board has both Amiga OS 4 and MorphOS running on it. And it means that it's basically, until now, the only way to run OS 4.1 on a PC under emulation was to use the classic version in WinUAE, which has its limitations, which is fine, but has limitations. And MorphOS didn't run at all. So this is great now to be able to use the sort of the full strength version of 4.1 and MorphOS on a PC. Now it's still early days, so it's still only just booting and has some issues to be worked out, but it's showing some excellent progress.
That's great. QEMU will work on Linux and Mac too, won't it?
Yeah. It's all over the place. It's an open source package, and it's available for basically everything you can think of, really.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great news. I've been dying to emulate some other systems. I can try them out because, you know, just to, you know, you could set up a nice system for yourself, and if you're really happy with it, then buy the hardware if you feel like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
In other hardware news, the HC533 turbo board has been released. This is a 33 megahertz device with 8 megabytes of fast RAM on board. So this is for the Amiga 500. It's from Archie Tech with cooperation from Luxor. So this allows booting from IDE as well with Kickstart 1.3, and it's available on Amiga, and I'm told this seller has a good reputation.
Yeah, this has generated a fair bit of interest recently because it's a nice little board for the 500, and as far as I know, I think maybe that was the board that was in the 1000. But yeah, it's quite popular, and as soon as it shows up in the stores, it's sold out almost straight away, which is a good sign.
Yeah, the good thing is also it allows to boot into Kickstart 1.3, which doesn't happen very often. If it comes to turbo boards for Amiga 500 or 500 plus, or even 2000, because most of them require at least Kickstart 2.04.
Yeah.
And thanks to Octopus, as far as I remember, on board of this board, it is possible actually to boot into Kickstart 1.3 for nostalgia reasons, for example, because you like 1.3. So, yeah. Pretty decent board, I must say. Right, Apollo Core Gold 2.10 and new Saga graphics drivers have been released by the Apollo team. These are mainly, bug fixes and updates and upgrades, but still showing progress and showing good results, and showing that the Apollo team is doing really good job regarding their accelerators and software for those accelerators. But I'm looking forward to standalone model as well, because I'm just curious about that. What do you think, guys? Yeah,
definitely. That'll be, a nice little, or it'll make for a nice little machine to be able to bring around once that's out and about. Great to see the progress there, and there's a lot of work gone into it.
And a lot of people involved as well.
Yeah. Only in the last day or two, there's a guy on EAB called Daniel J who's basically designed a Wi-Fi modem. Now, there are a few solutions for this around already, but this is this is an open source project, and so he has all the files online there for anyone who wants to make their own circuit board and use the software, and connect basically any machine to the internet through a serial port.
This is open source hardware, right? Do they plan to actually build these, or just sort of make the plans sort of like Terrible Fire does? You can go to dirty PCBs.
I think it's the same idea as that. I think he's making a couple himself, but he's not actually going to be manufacturing them as such. So it's basically up to someone else to go and make a batch of them, and then we'll probably sell them in. You see small runs cropping up here and there.
Brilliant. Okay, let's move on to the gaming section.
A developer called A-Rock has released another game, and he updates those games. The game is called Area 88 on Squadron SE. It's a great shoot 'em up with great graphics and great music, and A-Rock has been doing a great job for the past at least 5-6 years. I've been told that he's also responsible for the recent release of a game called Worthy, so worthy to check.
Hey, see what you did there.
We've talked about A-Rock before.
Last time, yeah. We talked about him last time, and I was pretty impressed by his work in general.
Yeah, no, he's quite prolific recently with modifying games and these releases is it's great,
and they are very polished. That's the thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
I've been following somebody on Twitter called Sarah Jane Avery, and she's been working on this game for the Commodore 64. It's a role-playing game called the Briley Witch Chronicles, or the Briley Witch Chronicles, and it's really interesting following these because she gives very incremental updates about what she's doing, what kind of changes she's making, to the software and the graphics, and you get to see the whole thing coming together. It's really fascinating. But what I only found out today was that it's actually based on a series of books which she also wrote herself.
What?
Yeah, it's amazing. There's a series of...
It's interesting.
Yeah, it's 7 or 9 books, and the reviews are really good, actually. And the main characters are female, and the people reviewing the books, there's a very deep, immersive world there to explore between the books and the games. So fair play to you, Sarah Jane. It looks like a really, really good game.
I've been following her on Twitter as well, to be honest, I was pretty, astounded that, actually a female developer, that doesn't happen very often, in the male-dominated world of computers. But the game itself looks pretty cute, and I look forward to its release.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I haven't seen anything about this at all, but I'll definitely check it out. But you just sort of think, some people have all the talent,
A girl and a cat. Yeah.
Aha.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so Highway Sprint is a game that's been... actually, is this released now, or is it... I saw this was in the works. I didn't realise it was actually released.
It is in the works. I think it's build number 3, yeah.
It looks very, very nice. It's so basically it's a kind of a bump and run kind of game, it's sort of vertical scrolling car game essentially, and it looks really nice, little cute graphics, and it looks like it's a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to seeing that when it's out.
It's been developed by the same team that released Tanks Fury. So yeah,
very good. So yeah, so you know what to expect. You know what to expect.
Good quality. It's going to be polished probably, and high playability.
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to that one as well.
It really looks good, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right, another one is Wonder Girl in Monster Palace. It's a game released by it's a game in work in progress, actually, and it's been worked on by Moyajaki. She's well known in the Amiga community. The game looks absolutely, in my opinion, fantastic. It's a bit of a, a drawback for me that it's actually been worked on, a backbone, actually. So the requirements are going to be probably a bit bigger. So probably at least 020 or maybe even 030, as backbone is resource hungry. However, the game itself looks very stylish, very polished, and very, very nice, in my opinion. So fingers crossed for this one, and I'm really hoping that maybe one day it'll be possible to to move it from backbone to actually assembler, so the game would work even better and look even better as well.
Yeah. During the last Amiga Ireland event, Ms. Mad Lemon was showing my girl some games like Crazy Sue and stuff that had female lead characters, she absolutely loved them, loved playing them. So this is another one with a really cute, well-designed game with a female character. AI Bot is it's an educational game to let you learn the basics of programming through play. So this is a game where you have to use available commands, a limited set of several commands, to program a robot to achieve a goal. You might have come across this kind of design idea before if you've seen something like Scratch for Linux, for teaching kids how to program, where there's usually a little robot or a little turtle, and you tell it, you line up all the instructions, go forward 2 paces, turn left 90 degrees, go forward, all that kind of stuff. It looks really good. As in the graphics are really good, and it does the job. So if you wanted to introduce somebody to the basics of programming, or even just tinker around with it for fun yourself, that is available on Aminet now.
Very good. And the last one for today is Elfie the Unicorn, and this is it's another game with some gorgeous graphics. It's a very, very cute little cartoony platformer, and it to me, just look at it, looks a little bit Rainbow Islands colours wise, the bright colours and that. But it looks really, really cute and really, really nice. I haven't actually tried it yet, but it's something I will do. But if you look at the videos online, you see it's just it looks fantastic.
It does, yeah. That's another one my daughter would love actually.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of work, and it's great to see that a lot of work gone into the the artistic side, or the pixel art sides of these games. It's brilliant.
I've noticed recently in general that a lot of game, and it's, quality has increased, which is really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because like these games took, back in the day, took massive teams and big budgets to get a good game together. It seemed anyway. So like the fact that we're still getting decent releases now is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
Okay, let's go on to discoveries.
Tom'sEditor.com is a website with beautiful pixelated pictures from different retro platforms, from Amiga, Atari ST, STE, Amstrad, Commodore, and there are loads of pictures from games, from demo scene, so I really enjoy anyone who's, who likes pixelated graphics to go down there and have a look and enjoy themselves.
Oh, that's a nice one, yeah.
Yeah,
some great
really
images.
nice.
And you can filter by platform, it's Commodore 64, Amiga.
Yeah.
Ah, fantastic.
Therefore, I thought it's really worth mentioning, because I really like pixelated art.
Mm-hmm.
Banjo Guy Ali has done a cover of Lotus 2 intro theme, and it's brilliant. He released it earlier this year, actually, but I'm only after spotting it now. I'm a bit oversubscribed on Twitter, so sometimes things pass me by. So I was looking around for some Amiga music today and I spotted that. Really, really good job. Yeah, so the link is there in the show notes if you want to check it out. And if you want to support Banjo Guy Ali, he's got a Patreon channel.
Excellent stuff. Yeah, it's another thing to add to the list of things to look at after this. Yeah, we were talking about him earlier, but Eric is Eric Hogan is his actual name. He has a page that on his website where he has it's basically just patched and updated versions of Amiga games, and there's it's just some interesting little things. There's a few games there with fixes or with sort of updated graphics and things like that. It's if you're familiar with his work, you'll know what to expect there. But it's it's nice to have them there in a nice little list.
Cool. And I don't know how I came across this, but one game that I'm very fond of, I think it could be the first computer game I ever played, was Jetpack on the Spectrum, the ZX Spectrum. And I just checked online on the off chance it was ported to the Commodore 64 or the Amiga, and it's actually been ported to the Commodore 64, and there's a .d64 image available online. So that's pretty cool. So I ran that, and it's clunkier than on the Spectrum ZX. It doesn't handle as well, doesn't look quite as nice, but it's there anyway. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's time for community news and events. So Norwich Amiga Group are having a meeting in the UK, and the link to their group page on Facebook is here. I'm not sure what the dates are on that actually, Luke. Would you know that?
That's the 16th of August, and the meeting starts around 4 o'clock. So if you're around Norwich, you're invited. Right, next one is Ami Party, and it's the 23rd incarnation of this demo scene party. It takes place in Poland, home, Eastern Poland. The party itself lasts for 3 days, starts on Friday, ends on Sunday, and it starts on the 17th of August. And so if you're in Poland, I really, really encourage you to visit this party. You won't regret it, for sure.
Very good. Now, there's a bit of competition for that, because the very same weekend there's the AROC demo scene party in Hungary. And this, you're going to have to forgive the pronunciation here. It's Aika or Ajka. I don't know, I'm afraid. But so that's happening there from the 17th to the 19th of August.
It's the biggest Commodore Amiga party in Hungary, as far as I remember.
Yeah, it's one of the big ones, because I know that I recognise the name all right, but I've never been there. I'd never even been to Hungary, unfortunately. but I will at some point, I'm sure.
I think Playavelli, am I wrong? Is Playavelli based there, the SWAS guy?
I don't know. I thought he was German.
Oh, you're right. He is, yeah.
But I might be wrong. But I think he's German, to be honest.
You're right, yeah. You're right. I don't know where I got that from. I think maybe they ran an event somewhere in a SWAS event somewhere in Hungary, maybe in Budapest.
There was, I think, last year. I think they had the Sensible Days there.
That might be the case, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and our last event, and this one's very short notice if you're only getting this now, but on this coming Saturday, if you're listening on the release day, the Scottish Amiga users are meeting in Glasgow. So that's the 4th of August. So if you're listening after that, then too late. But so we're ready to go, meeting up there. The details in the Scottish Amiga User Group Facebook page.
Okay, well, hi to the Norwich Amiga Group and the Scottish Amiga Group, and best of luck with your meetings.
Thank you.
Cheers.
I hope you put up more photos this time, by the way, because I think I've only seen one photo from the Norwich photo. Hopefully you were too busy having fun.
That's what often happens, it's you kind of standing there, and if there's a particularly tense, sensible soccer match going on or something like that, no one's taking photographs. Everyone's like shouting and spilling beer onto people, and that's
chatting. Yeah,
that's it.
Okay, let's move on to Ask Amiga.
Okay, so here's a question regarding RAM and Amigas that was on the Retro Computing Stack Exchange site. The user is asking what limits Amiga 680, 30, 040, or 060 accelerators to 256 megabytes of RAM. Now, that's not the whole story, because in fact the 03 Amigas, the 3000 and 4000, are actually limited to 128 megabytes on the accelerator, even though the architecture, it's a fully 32-bit machine, so in theory it has access to 4 gigabytes. There's no real reason for the 256 megabyte limit other than practicality. So really it's sort of, at the time these accelerators were being made, machines are still being sold with 2 megabytes of RAM in them or 4 megabytes of RAM in them. So to actually use 256 megabytes of RAM when, you had to find 228 megabyte SIMs, which were pretty rare and extremely expensive, it was probably sort of a practical limit, especially in the 1200, which, you're not going to physically fit any more SIMs in there. So that's purely the limiting factor. But architecturally, you don't have the full 4 gigabytes for a few reasons, but mainly because it uses sort of an extra bit for error detection, or or signed addresses and things like that. So you effectively have a 2 gigabyte map, and about 1.5 gigabytes of that could potentially be used for RAM. So 256 megabytes is a pretty decent chunk to be fitting in, like the likes of an Amiga 1200 or 2000. But the extra problem on the 3000 and 4000 comes from the actual design of the motherboard itself, where basically the memory map has allocated 128 megabytes for CPU local RAM. That's accessed using the address decoding on the motherboard, which tells the accelerator board that this RAM is being used. So what happens there is, or the reason for that is because you've got full DMA on the motherboard. That means that a Zorro card could in theory write to the fast RAM on the accelerator board, or any other hardware can write to the fast RAM on the accelerator board. And to do that, it has to be able to signal to the accelerator that it needs it. So that's it. So there's a line there, and it basically decodes up to 128 megabytes of RAM. So it's immensely complicated to get around that, and just wasn't worth it, I presume, at the time. But you can go beyond that by using 03 boards, and there are 256 megabyte 03 boards, so you can add a couple of them and get your machine up to 700 odd megabytes of RAM if you want. Let's face it, plenty. But yeah, so the theoretical limit is about 1.5 gigs or close to 2 gigs maybe. But practically, you're kind of limited by the accelerator RAM to 256 megs or 128 megs in the 3000, 4000. Plus whatever you can fit on the 03 bus.
Okay, so you won't be running Electron apps.
No. I think, to be honest, the RAM speed on these things, if even just to access 2 gigabytes of RAM with a 68K processor is going to take you, plenty of time. So, it's really sort of a more just because you can kind of badge of honor to fit that much RAM.
Okay, yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks for that, Rob. That's the only time I learn anything in the month. Right, so online, what's happening at the moment on the Amiga Ireland Twitter channel account. Our top tweet this month is actually our podcast one, our last episode, the one before the interviews. So Stupid Sexy Floppies was the most viewed and shared tweet. And on Facebook, we've got some new members in the group. So hi to Arthur Van Dam, Michael Collins, Jan Halholm, Stephen Deborah Dowden. I think he got you last time as well, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of activity, the most popular post was by Seamus Doyle. He put a post up about Hard Driving 2, as well as Stunt Car Racer, asking people which one they prefer and why. And there was a lot of discussion under that one. And it looks like Stunt Car Racer is almost the unanimous winner of that. Actually, it is everybody went for Stunt Car Racer.
Yeah. So not exactly a surprise, but good, good.
Yeah.
Good discussions though.
Yeah, thanks, Seamus.
Absolutely.
So that's it for this month, I think. Music was by Virtual Dimensions and banjo guy Ollie, as always. This month we're going to play out with a song by L-Man that he entered in a competition called the Non-Standard Time Signature Competition 2018, which was held at the Commodore 64 scene database. So there were the criteria for this were that the song couldn't use 4/4 or 3/4 time signatures, so it had to be a bit different to what we normally hear in pop music. And this song is called Mono Fail and came first. So congratulations on that, L-Man.
Well, this guy actually creates music for C64, and all of his songs and his music, they're just absolutely amazing. They just don't sound as if they were, created on C64. They sound so amazing, and you think it's just ridiculous. It's just impossible that something like that could be created on a chip that's actually 35 years old. So he's just a master for me if it comes to creating music for C64.
And thanks for giving us your permission to use it. So we're going to play out with that, and we'll see you in a month's time. So goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You know what I find equally amazing?
What's that?
You've got shelves there with nothing on them. I can't imagine such a situation in this house.
Same as
Oh yeah, the top
same as
shelf.
me.
Every
Same as me.
Every-
Yeah.
every square inch of flat surface is covered.